to the road to training camp, man. We're going to have our season preview content starting with our player expectations. So tonight's episode, we're going to talk about RJ Barrett. What do we expect from RJ in the 21-22 campaign? Alec, Burks, Nerlens, Noel. We're going to go through the whole team. Over the coming weeks, we're going to talk about lineups. We're going to talk about record predictions, all that good stuff, man. So make sure you guys are hitting that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up button, hit the notification bell as well so you don't miss anything. Tonight's panel, we got the squad in the building, CK2K, JD Sports Talk, Alex Rataros, Stratocaster in the building. Fellas, how we feeling, man? Happy Sunday, man. How we doing?
Happy Sunday, CP. Enjoying, chilling, waiting for this NBA season. Knicks season to start back up. So we got to do what we got. We just go over these players, man.
Bro, we right around the corner, bro. Right around the corner. So you know what? I kind of threw this pairing in here strategically. One with Noel because, you know, with all the current events going on with Noel, I figured it would be good to kind of kick it off with him. But I want to get you guys' thoughts on these current events and what happened with Noel, the announcement with Noel over the last week. Number one, he's suing his former agent, Rich Paul and Clutch Sports, for allegedly losing $58 million in potential salary. Now, why is he saying that? He's saying that because back during the 2017 offseason, he was represented by Happy Walters. Okay, Rich Paul allegedly met up with Noel at Ben Simmons' birthday party, said we could turn you into a max player. Don't take the 4-year, $70 million offer that was on the table by the Dallas Mavericks. Okay, so Noel declines that offer, signs up with Clutch Sports, declines that offer, and instead opts into the qualifying offer, which is a 1-year, $4 million deal. He goes into free agency expecting to get offers, but he had injured his thumb that same season. So he fractures his thumb that season, goes into the off season and gets no offers anywhere near a max deal. So he ends up going to OKC on a 2-year, $3.75 million vet minimum contract. He opts out of the second year of that 18 season. Again, no offers. So he signs a 1-year vet minimum contract with OKC once again. Now, during that time, Noel alleges that Philadelphia and other teams had tried to reach out to Rich Paul to make contract offers to Noel, and Rich Paul never returned the phone calls, and Noel never heard about it until after the fact. Okay? So now he's ready to move on from Clutch, and another contact from Clutch says, wait it out, and OKC is expected to give you a new deal at around $7 to $10 million per year. Free agency comes. Nothing from the Thunder of that sort. And then here comes Leon Rose, swoops in, and signs Noel to a 1-year, $5 million deal. During that offseason, which was last year's offseason, it was Noel reports that he found that the Rockets and the Clippers were trying to reach out to Rich Paul, and he didn't return their call. So, Al, I'll start with you, man. As one with the law as a background, legal background, it seems like some negligence, like Rich Paul may have abused a fiduciary duty. I mean, what do you make of this when you read this case?
Well, CP, right term, fiduciary duty, right?
Nice. Legal term, man.
There you go. Yeah. There you go.
Let's get it.
Already halfway there through law school. Yeah. Let's go, CP.
Right. Let's go.
Right. I mean, reading this, it seemed what I'm getting from it is that there were offers on the table that Rich Paul failed to tell Nerlens Noel if Nerlens Noel was telling the truth. And if Rich Paul failed to tell Nerlens Noel about said offers, that is malpractice. That is not doing his due diligence. That's not being a true fiduciary agent for him. As an agent, you're supposed to look out for your player's best interest, and within that process of looking out for your player's best interest, you're also supposed to give them the full platter, right? So you're supposed to let them know what is on the table, who is every team that's looking at you, what are all the offers. You can't hide anything. That is where we start. That's where it starts getting muddy. So if Rich Paul actually did that, Nerlens Noel has a very good case for
Yeah.
missing out on potential earnings because you can't, as an agent, that is your number one job. It's just right there. Represent your client to the
Right.
best of their ability. If you're not doing that, you're not doing your job.
Yeah, I hear you, man. CK, what about you? What do you think about this whole situation with Noel?
I just find the timing of it all very, very funny. I've been part of the conspiracy theory bandwagon that Leon Rose whispered in his ear, like, "Hey, man, you have an opportunity to do something that a lot of people would like to get done, and go against Clutch Sports." But no, I'm still, to be completely honest, I'm trying to take my Knicks hat off on this one, and I'm still trying to figure out who is in the bigger wrong. Like, obviously, everything that was just mentioned is very true, but at the same time, Nerlens Noel, I know it's clutch, I know it's Rich Paul, I get all that, but at the same time, like, I mean, what was it? He was offered what, 75? He was going to get offered 75,
4 years,
and then
70 from the Mavs, and he turned it down.
I don't know. I have a hard time with just fully going all in on Rich, because though Rich was wrong for all this, and then on top of that too, having Rich being no parts in negotiation for the deal he eventually got later on, is that's wild to me. But it's hard to say that Nerlens is saying this entire thing. So I'm pushing for Nerlens. I'm really hoping he comes out on top of this with this one for sure. But at the same time, man, to turn down that 70 mil for 4 years, we are cracking these jokes on. Yeah, man, we are cracking these jokes on guys like Dennis Schroeder. I mean, John Collins eventually got paid, but we do that with all those guys, and it's tough for me for Nerlens, but I hope he does get something out of this for sure.
And you know what, JD? You know, we have a situation here with Julius, who bet on himself in this recent offseason, right? We said that Julius could have waited it out, went into the next offseason and tried to hold the Knicks over for that $200 Supermax contract, and he took less money. You know, and I think part of that is, yes, the faith and the trust that he has in the front office, as he said in his press conference, but also trying to hedge against potential injury and the downside risk of losing out on a ton of money.
Yeah, and I'm sure that was a major reason why Julius Randle dysflexible with the front office. Him having those personal relationships, led to him, leaving some money on the table. And we talked about the Dennis Schroeder situation, and I mean, I think this all connects. It's been an interesting summer with Noel doing this, Dennis Schroeder's example, and now we have Mitch coming up. Yeah. And Mitch has some of these, injury concerns, and he also, next, who knows if Mitch is gonna sue his agent one day, because he's gone through so many, he's gone through so many. Who knows if he'll sign a contract and go back and sue someone else? So, but I mean, with Noel, I mean, listen, it's such a tough thing, to kind of dissect and figure out who is in the actual wrong, as CK said, because on one end, like Alex mentioned, the agent's biggest responsibility is you have to look out for, the player. And I know a lot of times us as fans, we see contracts, right? Like if someone signs a 4-year, $40 million contract, we think the player's getting all of that. No, there's a percentage that's going to the agent. Yeah. Other people get paid. The players they're not going to get every single dollar that gets reported in the public. So I just look at it as, this could be a good example for future players to also educate yourselves. Right. I can hire an agent, CP, but at the same time, I'm also, you're an adult, and, an agent's going to come and give you recommendations. You should at least educate yourself to the point where you can also form your own conclusion, your own opinion. It's okay to go back and forth with an agent. If you're reliant 100% on an agent, I know you're paying for those services, but I think, when you look at some of the most successful athletes and people in the world, a lot of it is because, they're independent sometimes in the way that they think, even if you have an entourage or you have advisors around you. So, let's see what happens. I don't know how he'll legally win this case. And also, I think he brought up this case after as a countersuit. I think it's being reported. So, but I think as it connects with the Knicks, let's see what happens with Mitch. Do you now with the Knicks, are you Leon Rose and you say, well, let me go mess with Mitch. Let me give him an offer and let's see what he does, because Dennis Schroeder, you don't want to be Nerlens Noel. And this could be a good opportunity for the Knicks to pounce on a good Mitchell Robinson deal if that's what they want to do.
And according to Berman of the Post, according to Berman of the Post, they're eager to re-sign Mitch early rather than letting him go into free agency. I'm with you guys. It's kind of hard to pinpoint whose fault it is. I think in these situations, it's one side, the other side, and then the truth is somewhere in the middle. So I think Nerlens certainly has a gripe if he can prove that he missed out on calls or contract offers, then I think he might have a case, not having a legal background, but it just seems like he might have a case in the terms of that where Rich Paul may have, violated his fiduciary duty. At the same time, I'm with you, JD, is that you got to do your own research, and you got to do your own research, consult the right people, and don't just rely on another agent in your ear promising you this, that, and the third. I mean, Nerlens won't be the first. He certainly won't be the last to make that mistake, but it should be a lesson learned for players down the road that, you got to smarten up and do your own research as well. And he should also looked at it like, am I really a max player? Yes, I am a good defensive force. But look around the league at some of the max contracts there. I think you got to do a little bit more. Doesn't mean you got to score 20 points a night by any stretch. But if you look at what the Capellas of the world are doing, I mean, you gotta have a bit more to your game than just blocking shots.
And CP, what's crazy is when you look at what was he reportedly turned down, and we're talking about 70+ million. Yeah. At that year. Right. It's a different market of what that is today. But even then, I wonder what was that advice in terms of what they first saw that he could get in the open market for you to turn down that amount. Like, that's just crazy to me. Yeah. You would think that a center with his limitations, that would be something that you would just pounce on. You don't even think about. Yeah. And in terms of, you forming your own, just getting educated more on the circumstances, that's why I think Julius Randle did. If you look at Julius Randle example, I don't think that an agent understanding the percentage he can get on a fee is going to 100% recommend Julius Randle to leave all that money he left on the table. I don't know if that's the agent's first priority, but if you look at the way Randle was talking, it looks like Randle and the agent had a back and forth dialogue and they were able to come to a conclusion. And that's what I mean when I'm saying, just get more educated. I'm not saying that, it takes away the purpose of hiring an agent. I'm just saying, give yourself a chance to also, tell the agent some of your interests and what you want to do as well.
Al, go ahead, bro.
The interesting part is like where Noel is saying that he believes that he lost $58 million in lost contract money. That's going to be the most difficult thing to argue in court because one, you'd have to prove that Rich Paul lost you $58 million in that money. And by just saying that you had the opportunity for a $70 million contract and that you could have got an extension, that won't necessarily cut it. At this also, when you're looking at it from, because this would be a civil suit, so you'd have your plaintiff and defendant. So Noel would have to prove that Rich Paul, that he could have gotten more than 70 million. But it would have been difficult to say that because Rich Paul's duty is going to build up Noel, right? He's trying to sell Noel. So to say, yeah, he could have got 70 million, that's just theoretical. Like, it's not, he could have gotten that $70 million contract. He potentially could have gotten more. It's all theoretical. So the $58 million, like, that's going to be the most interesting part because I feel like I don't know how you can necessarily argue that because as everyone's pointed out that Noel has to do his own due diligence. This is a conversation that you have with your agent. Your agent is only giving you an option that is then up at max contract that you're looking for. So once again, what everyone has also pointed out is that Noel had to have done his own research, actually knows who he is as a player. Is he a Clint Capella? No. You're not a Clint Capella. You're not a Rudy Gobert. So you're not going to get that type of money. So you have to be real with yourself. At the same time, do you think you can get a little bit more, or do you take what you got? Right. What you're going to get. So the 58 million is like the most intriguing aspect of this entire case. I want to see how that's going to be, just from like a legal aspect and being a nerd. I want to know how that's going to be argued for him.
It's going to be interesting, man. And then look, from the Clutch side of things, I mean, Noel's not the first player. I mean, agents get dropped all the time for various reasons, right? But I think you got to follow the smoke here. You know, Marcus Morris and Rich Paul fell out.
Yes.
We're not sure what exactly happened, but remember what happened, how Marcus Morris landed with the Knicks. He had a deal with the Spurs. He had verbally committed to a deal with the Spurs. The Knicks came in at the 13th hour, and Morris signs with the Knicks. Next thing you know, him and Rich Paul mutually part ways. It was first said that, Rich Paul wanted him to honor that agreement with the Spurs, but I don't see that as grounds for termination. So I don't know. Something happened, and remember, Pop was taking shots at the Knicks. They were tight about how the Knicks got in at the last second and got him. Something happened there. I don't know. Maybe Rich Paul didn't tell Marcus Morris about the Knick deal. I'm not so sure. But something happened there, and Marcus Morris decided to fire Rich Paul. Then remember, Mitch hired Rich Paul last year and fired him right after that.
Yeah, for a day.
For a day. Straight Grandpa Simpson memed him.
I think it's safe to say we're not going to get Zach LaVine. He signed the Clitch.
Right.
I saw you tweet that. I was like, yeah, right. That's it.
We're not creating a great foundation with that company.
Yeah.
I mean, I think also with Leon Rose, like to even add on to CK's conspiracy theory, like Leon Rose is also an attorney and was one of the top agents. So if he's in Noel's ear, if he's looking at Rich Paul and the type of the strategy that he's trying to use, I don't see Leon Rose necessarily want to go work with anyone coming from Clutch unless he can get some sort of deal, because what we're seeing from Clutch is that it's kind of like a vice that they're trying, like a vice grip, like they're trying to get you in. Once they get you in, they can squeeze you for all the money they can. That's kind of the way it looks like it's going. CAA seems like to be a little bit more creative, and that's just like speculation, just on how all the other contracts have played out.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's all conspiracy because, like I said, like it's known that Leon Rose has not been a fan of Clutch for the entirety of his tenure with CAA. When they came into the game, the way that they were getting their players and stuff, there's articles on and everything like that. So I just felt like it was really curious. Like I just got a little curious on him. Like, Leon Rose might be using Nerlens Noel on this one to finally get his revenge on Rich Paul. Man. I don't know if it's true or not. That's just my conspiracy theory. I'm putting it all together on that one. But when it comes to Nerlens, I just want to comment on the thing that you guys said earlier about the Rich Paul and the decision. When it comes to Nerlens and Rich Paul, I think, and this is not attacking his character or nothing like that, but I just feel like, and it makes sense, rightfully so. I think that just the appeal of who Rich Paul was, who's in his corner, LeBron James, Ben Simmons, like all those big name guys and stuff like that, and for him to come to him and believe in his game, because remember, Nerlens Noel, who was known to be such a solid player coming to the draft, but he had the injury, so then the draft didn't work out. His career wasn't working out, but to that point where he was about to get $70 million. I think that was one of those things where he really just he just really took a big gulp of the Kool-Aid, to be completely real. I don't think there was no conversations. I think he just like, Rich Paul, who has all these great athletes, he believes in me, and he, decided to go with them. And then in a very Marcus Morris way, you saw that they had that fallout. Yeah. So I just feel like, it's hard to pinpoint who did what, who's to blame for what. I think there's wrongs on both sides, but I'm sticking with my boy Nerlens. I'm hoping
Nerlens we trust, man. And Nerlens we trust.
Right.
Shout out Big J sends a super chat. He says Happy Walters negotiated a 4-year deal Noel turned down. My question is, why was he talking or listening to Rich Paul in the first place? Take the L. So Big J, he's going with Clutch. Okay. All right. Well, I mean, that's a whole Noel thing. He ended up getting a bag with the Knicks. Well deserved. He fought. He played hard all year. Well deserved 3-year, $32 million deal. The only thing, and I'll wrap up the Noel thing with this. Kendrick Perkins took a shot at him on Twitter, man. It was a real sucker move. I definitely did not appreciate that. And that was lame, man. For Kendrick Perkins to come out, he signed with Clutch and he's saying how Noel's wrong. That was uncalled for. For me, for Kendrick Perkins to do that was a sucker move. And Noel and him got into it on Twitter. And Knicks Nation attacked. We swarmed, as we usually do. So that's what transpired as the week came to a close.
And it's going to come across. I know a lot of players, especially that go into media, say that, now, especially people from previous generations say that, you guys call us old heads and we're hating. But I mean, you have to be intelligent enough to understand that you played the same position that Noel did. You guys kind of have similar skill sets in terms of being defenders. Kendrick Perkins wasn't necessarily the shot blocker that Noel was, but offensive limitations. You coming out and attacking him like that, it's gonna come across as because the people on social media started comparing the career earnings and it was, what I mean, and all that stuff, and they're saying, "Oh, you're just mad because you're not earning the money now," and all that stuff. That's why I thought, like, bro, he played your position. He's your peer. Like, chill out, man.
Yeah, that was lame. Like I know, look, Perkins is clearly, trying to establish his brand. He's on ESPN now, all this, that, and the third, but you got to draw a line somewhere. And to me, no matter whose side he's on, and he's coming from that side of the house, being a former player himself, he should have kept that to himself. And hit up Nerlens personally. There's no reason for him to air that man out on Front Street on Twitter. That was kind of lame. But either way, somebody saying something?
No, I was just gonna say, hey, ESPN is making changes. Maybe he's taking on that new role of being the next Knicks hater, because previously he was giving the Knicks a lot of credit.
I was gonna say he was with us last year, man.
Right.
Yeah, the old Knick haters out on the way out. Perkins, I might have to roll the sleeves up and go at Perkins now, man.
Because
Perkins might have to shoot the fair one, bro.
Aside from this Noel thing, I think I read somewhere that he was saying the Knicks won't even make it past the first round or something. I see you shaking your head, CK. So you probably know. I didn't read the whole thing, but it was something along those lines. So that's what I'm saying. Maybe he's the next new Knicks hater with all the changes going on. Man. And hey, you know the rule. If you want clicks, you want tweets, you want ratings, anything Knicks. Touch on the topic, and then Knicks fans react.
That's a fact. Now, let's talk about season's expectations for Noel. Because as we said before, 5 points per game, 6 rebounds, 2 block shots. That's where he made his bread and butter, man, and filling in for Mitchell Robinson, 23 minutes per game. Noel was an anchor for us, a different type of defender than Mitch, but no doubt an anchor for us and very vital to us getting that 4th seed. So Al, I'll start with you, man. As we go into this 21-22 season, what are your expectations for Nerlens?
I think for him, like, it depends on how Mitchell Robinson's coming back and if he's going to be starting and what the thought process is for Mitch at the get-go. If Mitch is not back, then I expect him to come in where he left off last season, being that defensive anchor, shot blocker that he was. Probably not as involved on offense because that's what Thibodeau doesn't really use the centers from what we're seeing, especially with Mitch and Noel. They're not offensively gifted where they got a post game or they can face somebody up. They don't really have a hook that they can use around the rim. So I don't expect him to be this offensive juggernaut, but and we know that Noel is not necessarily the best rebounder either, especially on the offensive glass either, but he can get you some boards here and there. So I expect him to come in doing something similar, something like, I don't think we're going to see him dip. If anything, it may take a slight increase. What he did in like OKC, where he averaged 7 points, like around 7 points, 5, like probably would say he keeps around the 6 rebounds, not really 5 like what he got in OKC, but probably somewhere around there is what I'm expecting from him. And still, I don't know if we're going to see the crazy amount of shot blocking that he did because he got over 2 blocks a game. But I would probably somewhere like 1.5 to like 1.8 is like where I see him being a blocker. But it all depends on if Mitchell Robinson's starting the season, because if he's coming off the bench playing only 15 minutes a game like he was last season, then I don't see these type of numbers coming around at all, because we're going to see a lot. We're going to see about half then. We're going to see probably like 4 points, 4 rebounds, something along those lines. Decent efficiency. That's what I expect from Noel.
I mean, last year she came in 97th percentile in block percentage and steal percentage, respectively. 4.7% block percentage, 2.1% steal percentage. What are you thinking in terms of Nerlens this season?
Yeah, I think I co-sign a lot of what Alex said, but the one thing I disagree with you on, especially if Mitch comes in and when Mitch comes in and gets his spot back as a starter, I think that the one thing that will not dip, I think might stay the same or be around the range that he was at last year was the blocks. I think him coming off the bench, playing against a lot of these second units or in a lot of situational ball, I think he's going to be able to keep that pretty, if not close or the same. I think he might even outdo what he did last year as a shot blocker because of how he's going to be used now, not as the starter. Because I mean, we know there was a lot of those times where he had those games where he was not getting the blocks or things like that won't work. Now it's because he was playing against bigger dudes. But now when we have an actual starting center next to him where he can play off the bench and then deal with the second units and stuff like that, I think that Nerlens is just going to have a field day with a lot of that. What I'm really looking for with Nerlens Noel this year, to be real with you, I think I might have said Mitch, but I'm talking about Nerlens. But what I'm looking for with Nerlens right now, to be real, this position is the one that I'm just curious about, because I'm looking at health, and this is for Nerlens and Mitch, because we saw number 45, big rookie Jericho Sims, ready to go, and he's doing a lot of the things that these two dudes can do athletically, defensively, and he could be back in the rim, and he can jump in the air 360 and dunk that thing down. So I just feel like it's going to be really interesting health wise for these two dudes and what happens with Jericho and stuff like that. Will Mitch be able to play a bigger, higher percentage of games this year compared to the year prior and somewhat the year before that? Nerlens Noel, he has a bit of an injury history as well. I'm looking at the health for these guys because I feel like we got a guy that's ready to take some minutes if they're not careful. But as far as Nerlens Noel, I to be real, I think like Alex said, he's gonna have some dip in his points. The rebounding, I really hope he steps up because he's gonna be with that second unit. But the blocking, I'm gonna be real, I'm not worried about it. That's the one thing I think he's just gonna thrive in, continuing that energy with the second unit by stopping some plays around the rim and pushing the pace with guys like Rose if he's off the bench again and stuff like that. So defensively, I'm really looking forward to what he's gonna bring coming off the bench. We're gonna see the stuff that he did as a starter be a lot more useful as the guy coming off the bench. So I'm excited for him in that backup center role.
So to everybody in the chat, once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. CP, Alex Trataris, Stratocast, CK2K in the building, JD Sports Talk. This is episode 1 of our season preview series. We're going to start off with our player expectations. We're talking about RJ Barrett, Alec, Burks, and right now we're talking about Nerlens Noel. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, share these videos as well. And we're going to be taking phone calls at the end of the program. So call us up, 657-383-1509. JD, what are you thinking about Noel this season?
I think, I think his performance in terms of the duration of the season and going into the playoffs, I think a lot of it is going to also depend on Mitchell Robinson and everybody in front of him, because he played excellent, but then he was on fumes in the playoffs. Yeah. In the playoffs, he didn't even average. He was at 0.6 blocks per game.
He crawled to the finish line, man.
Yeah, he crawled to the finish line. He was a major liability in the pick and roll situations where, he wasn't 100%. And now you don't know if you should attack the pick and roll, if you should sit back. And he was exposed in that area. And I think a lot of that had to do because of the major minutes that he played after Mitchell Robinson was hurt. He was overextended. He had a period, CP, in a 4-game stretch where he played 42 minutes, 37 minutes, 40 minutes, and 41 minutes. I remember that time we were talking about we didn't even know if he would make it to the plains. Because the way Tibbs was, managing his minutes. And so I think that will play a major factor into him having a complete season. He's never played 82 games, so I don't expect that to change this season. But I am still looking for him to duplicate his career high in blocks. He was at a career high last year. I think he'll have close to that again, 2 to 2.5, maybe even get close to 3 blocks per game. And the reason I say that is because I think you'll have more opportunities, him and Mitchell Robinson this year, to block shots because, Elfrid Payton and Reggie Bullock are gone. And with Fournier and Kemba, there's going to be more opportunities at the rim to protect the rim, which could, which could result in additional blocks. And so I think those numbers could spike up a little bit. And listen, if Mitch is healthy, I think he'll have the same impact, but I think we'll be able to see it for a full season and into the playoffs as long as we don't overextend his minutes just because of his body. He's not too strong. And, you take a beating in an 82-game season. So I think you'll have an excellent year, excellent defensive year. And, I think you'll have some of the same numbers that he had last season: 2 blocks, 6-7 rebounds, 4 to 5 points per game.
Yeah, that's a good point, man. Especially when you're talking about adding Kemba, Fournier, you still have Derrick Rose there. You know, if the dribble penetration breaks down as at the point of attack, you know, Noel could be there cleaning up, and Mitch as well. So it could bode well for both. I think Noel's production, you know, 5, 6, 2 blocks per game. Maybe the boards may come down a little bit depending on how many minutes he gets. But I think number one, it starts with Mitch's health. Can Mitch continue to stay healthy? Can Mitch continue to stay disciplined when it comes to fouling and things of that nature? Can he stay in the game? I mean, Noel got 23 minutes per game last year. You know, we'll see how Mitch impacts that. But I first want to see. I think Mitch will start. To your point, Al, I think Mitch will get the start once he comes into camp. He's ready to go, and that'll be the move because, like I said, I just think he provides way more perimeter versatility than what Noel can give you, and an elite shot blocker in his own regard. So I think Mitch will get the start. I'm also curious, though, to see, you know, does Tibbs favor more offense in certain games and go Taj at the 5, Obi at the 5? You know, does he play around with the small ball, Obi at the 5, or does he go Taj, Obi front court with the three guard rotation of Rose, IQ, and Burks? Because remember that lineup had one of the best offensive ratings in the league off the bench. That was one of the best benches in the league with Taj in there once Noel got moved to the starting lineup. So I'd be interested to see if Taj, you know, challenges for some of those backup 5 minutes, and maybe that cuts down on some of Noel's production there. So it's going to be interesting how it
It's
pans
the
out.
Obi thing for me. I'm just not there.
I
don't
don't
like
see
him
it. I
at
think
the
it's a long
5.
shot. It's wishful
Yeah,
thinking,
I mean,
bro.
if there's anything during the game in lineup, sure. But man, I'm just not crazy about Obi at the 5. I feel like that hurts the poor kid at doing what he does well. I don't want to see it anymore.
Yeah.
If Mike
It's
D'Antoni
wishful
was
thinking,
coaching
bro.
this team,
Right.
Mike D'Antoni was coaching this
Bro,
team.
yeah.
He might be the starter
Yeah.
tonight at the 5.
For real.
So I mean, I just think, you know, it's just on this situation is like you have to find some minutes for Obi, but you know, with Tibbs, when you look at the contract they gave Noel, even if it came out a little bit better after it was officially reported, Mitch in a contract year as well. If you look at, you know, the drafting of Jericho Sims, it just seems like Tibbs just loves those type of centers that can be athletic.
Yeah.
He doesn't care if they're light, if they're, you know, doesn't look for, he just wants a specific guy that can block shots, that can protect the rim, and that can, you know, rotate out and guard some of these guards. And, you know, these guys have that ability. So when I look at that, and I look at the fact that Tibbs is a coach that has shown us that he wants a consistent rotation, he's not going to play around too much. It's just hard for me to think that he's going to just bench Noel or something unless there's an injury. That's why I think Taj is back, but Taj may just be back for leadership and emergency minutes.
Situation.
I want him to mix it up, CP.
Yeah.
I want him to be a little flexible, but I just look at it and I just think, especially this year, again, with Kemba and Fournier, I just think he's going to try to get that 48 minutes of rim protection at the center.
That's true. And also, you know, hopefully you factor in an offensive uptick in Obi in his limited minutes. So, you know, you can have a more defensive-oriented 5 out there in Noel over Taj. So that'll be interesting to see. I don't expect Noel, you know, one of his deficiencies was certainly in the rebounding, in particular defensive rebounding. His defensive rebounding percentage was 16.4% last year. That put him in the 38th percentile. Offensively, he was actually a little bit better. He was 9.9% in terms of offensive rebounding percentage, and that put him in the 70th percentile in the league. But, you know, I don't really expect him to improve, especially on the defensive end, because I don't think he's physically built that way. But you know, I think the block should hover around the same, and as you said, JD, maybe even increase if there's a bit of Matador D on the perimeter. So let's see how it plays out. Man.
Do you think he's a guy that the Knicks would include in a trade package at the deadline? Like, do you think? Now you see that's the tricky thing about this team too.
Yeah,
is when you look at these agency relationships, the college relationships, the Kentucky connection. You know, I just wonder if Leon Rose would be willing to put Noel in a package deal on the trade deadline if the Knicks are contending, and it just means the team get like. I just wonder if the Knicks would do something like that. And they sign a lot of these contracts to give them flexibility. Do you think they would move him?
Nobody's untouchable, bro.
Mm.
No, nobody's untouchable, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Nobody's untouchable. If they find the right
All right.
package, he gave us all he had. Thanks for your service. You know what I'm saying? That's how I see it. No,
Especially if you
nobody's
have,
untouchable.
especially if Jericho Sims, if he's playing like in Westchester and he's showing off that he's more than capable of playing at the NBA level, then you have more than enough reason to trade Noel too. If like you got Jericho right there,
Yeah.
who's ready to step up.
Right. That's right. How about you people in the chat? What are your expectations for Nerlens Noel going into the season? Leave us some comments in the chat. We'll shout you guys out. Also, if you guys are new in the chat, new to the show, type in hashtag new in the chat and we'll shout you guys out as well. All right, so that was Nerlens Noel, fellas. The next guy up. And JD, you saw that I was strategic in my pairings because you know this is my guy. Outside of RJ Broadway Barrett, my favorite Knick was one Alec Burks. Yes, Alec Burks. 12 points per game, 4 rebounds, 2 dimes, 41% from 3. But the one thing about Burks, man, that he showed us last year was that he was Mr. Fourth Quarter, man. Alec Burks was Mr. Fourth Quarter so many times for this team. I remember I was at the Kings game, Knicks versus Kings. He had 19 points in the fourth quarter against the Kings. The Pelicans game, 11 points against the Pelicans in the fourth quarter where no team could get a bucket. Led the team, put the team on his back in New Orleans and got him a win against the Pelicans. Comes back from COVID against the Spurs. 16 points in the fourth quarter on his way to a season high. 30 points per game. CK, kick us off, man. What are your expectations for Alec Burks in the 21-22 season?
This is gonna be interesting, man. I'm excited. It's as a fan, it's like, oh man, one of my favorite players might not play, but at the same time, like just knowing that we have depth at that position now is fun. I'm excited about it. Like you mentioned, Alec Burks, when he was on, he was on. We saw that in a lot of instances. We even saw that briefly in the playoffs as well.
Yep.
I mean, it did cool off a little bit, but we saw it briefly. So, offensively, we know that he's that guy, especially when we're going to need that juice off the bench. I think we talked about it a while ago. Last time I was on, like we have that. We have the possibility of being able to start the game a lot better than we did last year, and then be able to continue that with the second unit. And I think that is only that's a big part of that is going to be Alec Burks offensively. But then I'm just looking at the defense. I'm just looking to see what if Tom Thibodeau, because he's going to have a real conflict of interest if you really think about it. Because if Q starts off and he, if even the shot's not hitting or whatever, we saw the defense. I know it's just summer league, but the defense looked like it translated pretty well. And if now we're seeing it against NBA players and it's, game 22, game, 25, and he's still out here locking up some of the other team's better scorers, what happens, So I'm just very interested to see what happens with these rotations, knowing that we got these defensive guys on the bench. And if Alec Burks' shot's not hitting, what happens next? But it's strictly talking about Alec Burks. I really don't know. I don't know. Like, cause we got Evan Fournier too. It's interesting, man.
Yeah.
It's an interesting position, but I definitely would give him the first shot for sure. Coming off the bench, season begins. If Fournier's starting, whatever. Definitely Alec Burks is one of the main guys in rotation, at least to begin the season. I don't know what happens past that. Will he have similar numbers to last year? That's going to be tough. Maybe he does, but I don't know if I'm in that camp where I think he's going to rock around the same numbers that he did last year, just because we have so much more depth at the guard,
Right.
whether it be point guard or the shooting guard, or even if he slides to the three, maybe that helps him out a little bit, but we'll see what happens when he's playing against some of the other bigger threes in some against with the other teams that we play against. So I don't know if his stats are going to be around the same, but what I do know is he's definitely going to be that flamethrower for us. Hopefully a lot more consistent. But again, a lot like Nerlens Noel, I'm looking at him health-wise too, because that's just always been his biggest knot his entire career. He was really, I feel like, outside of COVID, and I cannot remember the injury he had early on. it would for compared to Alec Burks that we've seen in other teams, it was doable. Like I feel like we were fine.
I think it was an ankle. I think it was an ankle.
Right.
Ankle.
Yeah. So and that's doable. Like, you know what I mean? The amount of games he missed was not clearly the amount that he normally missed with a lot of the his past teams. So I definitely believe that he is going to be a big factor for us offensively. But man, I'm really interested to see how this guard roulette turns out when it comes game 30, of the season. Like, I don't know. Like, I just don't feel like anyone says. I know he's a vet, and you know Tibbs loves his vets, but he also loves his defense. And if he's seeing some defense from some of these other cats, I'm really curious to see what happens next. So, but as of right now, I just don't think he's going to match the same stats from last season. But I do definitely believe he's going to be instant offense like he has been for us, and he's going to come clutch with us in some games in the beginning part of the season.
Al, how about you, man?
See, now this is where I actually differ from CK. I actually think he's going to maintain the similar stats that he did last season, just because of the small sample size that he did when he was in Philadelphia for a 2019-2020 season. On an average of like 6 minutes less, he was averaging around the same. So I think he could do it. If he's getting less, if Evan Fournier is starting and getting close to that 30 minutes, and you want to bring in Alec Burks and come in for the remainder of that, something close to 20 minutes, or just like not gonna be splitting hairs like down to the second, but like essentially if he's getting 20 minutes at that point, I think he can keep up to 12 points. I think his rebounding is very good for like a shooting guard. He was averaging close to 5 rebounds per game. So definitely want to keep that. I could see him keeping that same impact. But to add on to what CK said, like we saw Deuce McBride, especially with his defense in summer league. We don't know if he can translate that. We saw that what IQ can do. We know, I think the backcourt, I think the initial second unit is going to stay the same coming out of the gate. And I think it's going to stay the same just because of how potent it was from last season. I mean, having Derrick Rose, Emmanuel Quickly, Alec Burks, Obi Toppin, and then you can put Nerlens, Noel, and
lineup, man. Yeah. That was a beastly lineup for us, bro.
So beastly. And, you know, like the best thing about it is that Alec Burks was out of playing the wings, he was in the 87th percentile from shooting from all threes. You know, he shot 42% from three, and that's on, what was it? What was the numbers on that?
The volume was pretty good.
It was 100. It was 200. He made 100 shots out of 239 attempts for threes. So I expect that to be up there as well, because he also did something like reducing the sample size. He was keeping up the same percentages while in Philadelphia. I expect him to have his spot bearing any injury, and if any injury comes along and someone is playing above his level, then maybe that's where it comes out. Just throw in Deuce McBride, because we saw what Deuce McBride did during summer league, and we saw his defensive intensity. I'm not saying Deuce is going to outright earn it, but if he can translate what he did from summer league, I could see Alec Burks being kind of for it, just because the difficulty is that Alec Burks is like such a tall guard / wing, 6'6". Deuce is short, so I don't see Tibbs giving up height and just for, you know, at that position too, because Burks can play the 2, the 3 when he's in that second unit. So I don't know if his position is that like on the line, even if he's injured. Now the more I'm like talking out loud, thinking about it, I think his position is pretty secured, and I'm pretty confident he's going to do the same thing they did last season.
JD, man, you know, as erratic as Burks can be, I thought he did well in other areas, man. 13.1 assist percentage, 71st percentile. 8.4% turnover percentage, 86th percentile. He was assisted on 56% of his shots, 83rd percentile, 41% from 3. Effective field goal percentage in pull-ups. This was an interesting one. In pull-ups, and this is why I felt like they kept him more so than Bullock. Effective field goal percentage in pull-ups, 53% on 4 attempts. He shot better from 3 on pull-ups than he did catch and shoot last year. And so I think, and as Alex mentioned, defensive rebounding, he was 16.5 defensive rebounding percentage. That put him in the 90th percentile. I mean, Burks really came through as a utility player for us, man. I like that they brought him back, but what do you expect from him next season?
You know, I think I may be leaning towards Alex in terms of being able to maintain those stats. And the only reason now, it's going to be so difficult to do these expectations for all these players, because a lot of these players, a lot of it is revolving on health, you know, with Noel, with Mitch. And it's like, so it's hard to kind of evaluate what type of minutes they're going to get and their availability, because I think that will matter, especially in Tibbs rotations. But if he's healthy, the only thing he has to be is a little bit more consistent. But Tibbs trusted him a lot last year
Yes, he
in
did.
big moments.
Yes, he did.
You know, even over RJ, a lot of
Yes, he
times
did.
he
Yes, he
put him in
did.
the fourth over the number 3 overall pick. So when I look at that, he's 30 years old. So does he really fit that magical timeline that we talk about? No, and they still brought him back. When I look at the fact that from the right corner three, he shot 64%, you know, from the corner three overall, he was at 37%. That's a big number in Tibbs' system, is those guys that have the ability to shoot the corner three. And when you look at currently, who would you say is our best defender at that wing position? I mean, Burks to me is a better defender than Fournier. Is it RJ now?
It's RJ. I
We
think it's
don't
RJ.
have, you know what I mean? So,
I think
yeah,
RJ,
but Burks is still a solid defender. He's not a great defender. I would say is a better defender as
Yeah.
well. But what I'm saying is, Burks, for what we have now, and you look at potential lineups in the fourth quarter, don't be surprised if Burks is in there somehow.
Yeah, that clutch
Because
lineup.
Tibbs-
That clutch lineup. We're going to talk about that in a later episode, but that clutch
Yeah.
lineup is going to be very,
It's
very
gonna be
interesting, bro.
it's gonna be interesting
Yeah.
because Burks gives you the ability to play emergency minutes at the point. You don't want that, but he gives you that ability. Anywhere you put him, he can dribble, he can create his own shot.
Yeah.
So I think, hey, he has to be available, but I think he's gonna be in the conversation for 20-25 minutes again. And I expect him to give you the same percentages from three. I expect him to be at 38 to 40%. And, hey, depending on how that lineup is off the bench, he may be another featured guy, with Rose and Quickly,
Yeah.
depending on how the game goes. I think when we see these players, Tibbs has a lot of weapons to kind of manage the game. Whoever's hot that night,
time.
that's who he's probably going to go with. But I think Burks will have a good season.
Yeah, likewise, man. I want to shout out Carlo87, team hashtag new. Brendan Forrest Style, team hashtag new. How you feeling? Salute to everybody in the chat. Once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. Junior Caroma says, Burks is my guy. Yeah, Burks is my guy too, man. Definitely erratic. You know what I'm saying? But I always like those erratic. He's a cardiac Nick, man. He's a cardiac Nick. True blue. True blue, you know what I'm saying? And very professional, stays under the radar and just gets buckets. That's what I like about Burks, man. Again, interesting because I'm with you guys in that injury could play a factor in it. He does get those ticky-tack injuries, had COVID last year. That could be in play. You knock on wood, you hope not, but, anything is possible when these guys are traveling and playing an 82-game season. So does that make room for McBride and Grimes to get their playing time? I also wonder if his minutes stay the same based on potential load management with Kemba and Rose, and does Tibbs rely on him as the primary ball handler off the bench when one of those guys can go, or, if both of those guys aren't available? Because we saw that Burks was the emergency point guard last year. And we always question whether or not, IQ should have that role, or is he better suited off the ball and where his primary responsibility will be to shoot. So I think that'll be interesting. But I think Fournier's role and addition here could impact Burks' numbers, in that a lot of times Burks was brought in place of Bullock to be a more dynamic playmaker and shot creator, especially later on in games. Sometimes for RJ, remember those Miami games when he had RJ out, Tibbs took RJ out of the fourth quarter, he had Burks in there. So I'm wondering, with Fournier here, does that cut Burks' minutes a little bit? Because now you have a reliable shot creator, reliable playmaker, and the guy that you just paid, 4 years, whatever you gave him, to be your starting your starting wing. So I think Fournier could have an impact on Burks' minutes, but no doubt I think the 3-point percentages will certainly remain the same. Will the minutes taper here and there? I think that'll be left to be seen, and maybe the points may go down a little bit based on that. But I think for the most part, career-wise, he's always hovered around, high 30s, low 40s on 3-point percentage, and I don't see that changing next year. I think Burks will be another impact piece off the bench for us. So Good pickup. Good pickup. 2-year deal, and then the third year is an option. On the 3-year 30. So we're good to go.
And if you guys have been seeing some of these uh, statements coming from the front office after a lot of the signings of the players that were here last year, you see a little consistent message that Leon Rose is putting out on the with the PR account with the Knicks, in that they value these guys that built brought us to this point. Talking about one of the reasons we brought these guys back is because they brought they created that culture, maintaining stability, maintaining consistency. So if that's the case, these guys got first dibs on minutes over some of these rookies and the other young players, and that's why I think Burks, being one of the major components to a successful season last year, is going to still be one of the biggest factors in Tibbs' rotation.
True indeed. Well said. And salute to everybody in the chat. Once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. This is the first episode of the season preview series. Make sure you guys are hitting that like button, hit that subscribe button, share these videos, and hit the notification bell. Number one show for the fans, by the fans, KnicksFanTV, presented by Manscaped. Fellas, Manscaped is the number one men's grooming tool below the waist. Don't be caught out here lacking. Go ahead and go get the Ferrari of ball trimmers, and that is the Lawnmower 4.0. And what I love about the Lawnmower, fellas, number one, is the skin-safe technology. That's number one. Skin-safe ceramic blade technology, so you could, maintain your hedges down there without risk of injury. You have the LED spotlight, very, very bright. So, you could use it in the dark. If you want to do it in the dark, whatever you into, you could do that as well. You could also use it as a flashlight, man. If you lights go out in the house, it's that spare flashlight for you. Nice design. Also, great battery life. Wireless or wired charger on the Lawnmower 4.0. And you can go to manscaped.com, enter promo code Knicks for 20% off plus free shipping. It's a great deal. Also, go ahead and check out the Performance Package 4.0, which comes with the Lawnmower 4.0, the Weed Whacker, which is the air nose trimmer. You get the ball toner, the ball deodorant, and a pair of boxer briefs. So definitely appreciate our friends from Manscaped for supporting the show, and they will be our presenting sponsor for the whole 21-22 season. So definitely appreciate my friends at Manscaped. And remember, they not only deliver in the U.S., but also the UK, Europe, South Africa, Australia, and Singapore. So to all our friends around the world, go ahead and go get that. Support the show, and we'd very much appreciate it. All right, fellas. So we talked about Noel. We talked about Alec Burks. And again, timing is everything, because the Knicks fan is a sucker for off-season workouts. You know what I mean? The good old off-season workout video. And as soon as I seen this one, I said, oh yeah, I'm throwing this thing up there, and I'm just going to sit back like MJ on his iPad in The Last Stand and watch the overreactions come in. Because over the weekend, on Friday, I dropped a video of RJ working out at Drew Hanlon's open gym, teaming up with Trae Young, to the dismay of some Knicks fans.
Yeah.
They weren't feeling that, CK. They weren't feeling that at all. He was playing with Melo, which I liked. A lot of guys. You had Bradley Beal there, Kelly Oubre. It was a star-studded open gym, man. Even you saw RJ hit a nice little mid-range fadeaway. So that was nice. But either way, RJ year 3. We talk about our additions this year, and JD, you had mentioned it on the previous show, where you can't discredit an RJ year 3 improvement being another addition, so to speak, to this team in terms of improving this team and moving it forward. And there's no doubt, man, second year RJ, I think he blew past my expectations, just speaking for myself. 17 points per game, 5 rebounds, 3 dimes, 40% from 3, and 75% from the line, man. JD, I'll go with you, man. Year 3 expectations for Broadway Barrett. What are you thinking, bro?
Well, this was definitely an anticipated topic, because it's great that we start with him on the first show, because he's our number 3 overall pick, highest pick since Patrick Ewing. And a lot of what the Knicks' success or failures this year, a lot of that is now on RJ's shoulders. And I've never seen so much evaluation on a 40-second clip
Oh
that he posted.
man.
Really?
I mean,
Oh man.
I
He's
mean,
not playing defense. He's standing up too high. He's not working on his right
Yeah, I'm
hand.
used to those by now, man.
Why is
Those
he playing
workout
with
pills.
Trey Young? Trey's
Yeah,
not passing
man.
him the ball.
Yeah.
Oh man, bro. Go ahead, bro.
oh my God. And I mean, hey, he did do a little mid-range shot pull up
Yeah.
that, you said that's what you wanted
That
to
was
see.
nice.
So that was good to see. And he looks strong, man. He's like the biggest guy on the
He looks
court.
like he
It
got bigger,
seemed
bro.
It's like he was
Pause, but he looked like he
towering
got
over
bigger.
a lot of those other wing players. It
Yeah.
was crazy.
Yeah.
So listen, I think it's time. It's time for him to take a big step now. I said on a previous show that for me, the way that I evaluate him taking a big step is he defensively. Just because no Peyton, no Bullock, is Fournier going to guard, some of these top wings? No. Is it going to be Burks? He's not starting. It has to be RJ. So, when I talk about off-season additions, when you look at the Milwaukee Bucks, they had Middleton multiple years and Giannis. A lot of times we look at off-season additions and we don't think about the internal off-season additions of players getting better, like Julius Randle. Julius Randle wasn't a new transaction last offseason, but that was an offseason addition in terms of his improvement. So if he can get better and he can take that next step up defensively, if he could take on the challenge, I think that'll be a big step for him becoming a complete player, and for the Knicks organization. Now, in terms of him offensively, is he going to get 20 points? I don't know, CP, just because you got Fournier, you got Kemba. If Kemba's healthy, he's going to take shots. Julius Randle's going to look to be, hit some of those bonuses. I think he hits 20 points. I think he hits 40%, 39% from three, because I actually think this year he's going to get even more open looks with Kemba and playing with Rose off the bench. If everybody stays intact, I think he'll get good looks again. And I see him making a big leap, but not statistically. Again, defensively and maintaining some of those shooting percentages, hitting the 20-point mark would be like a 2-3 point increase. When you look at Julius Randle, a lot of people act like the numbers Julius Randle hit last year, he's never done before. He improved incrementally, but his biggest impact was his impact on the court. So that's where I look RJ to be impactful, is take that defensive assignment, shoot 40% from three, be consistent, and prove that you can be a player in the fourth quarter, because we saw many times Tibbs did not go to him in the fourth quarter. Prove that you can be an option as a closer for the team.
Al, how about you, man?
I agree with a lot of what JD said. I would expect RJ to take another step forward. We heard that, Drew Hannon wanted to practice with RJ doing off the dribble type shot, off the dribble shooting. So we'll see how far he takes that. But I could see RJ getting up to 20 points a season. I mean, if we look at the Knicks as a team last season, they were ranked 26 in how many points they averaged throughout the season, with 107 points per game. Top team was the Milwaukee Bucks with 120. So there's some room, even with the addition of Evan Fournier and Kemba Walker to the team. I expect the offense to be a little bit more open for RJ to get better looks too. It's not going to be as closed as it was with just having Reggie Bullock as your 3-point option. Now you have 4 guys who can shoot the 3-point shot. So that opens it up for RJ. So I don't think 20 points to go from 17 to 20 is going to be that difficult for him, especially if he's able to even draw more contact for fouling too. If they're changing the fouling rules and not giving players like the ability to like make the unnatural movements, and they're actually going to call legitimate fouls this season, I could see him still getting there. He got up to 17. CPU and I discussed even last season when he was rookie that he can get up to 18 if he can hit his mid-range shots, which he started to do. He hit 3-pointers, which he started to do, and he got to the line. He was hitting his free throws. He hit 72%, I believe, from the free throw line. So I could see RJ get to 20. I think for him, The thing that I really want to see from him is a little bit more playmaking this season. I think that's going to be the real question: is can he be another option? We know we're going to get Evan Fournier, who's going to contribute to some playmaking, be like a second or third option on the team. You're going to have Julius Randle, who I presume to still be either, I guess, the second or the primary, depending on how Tibbs wants to run this team. You got Kemba Walker out there who can help as well. So seeing if RJ can also facilitate, get other guys involved, and whether it's just dribble penetration, he did better finishing around he did improve finishing around the rim and using his right hand as well. So let's see if he can take that to another level. And I think RJ can take so I don't expect it to be like a massive improvement. Like what we saw last season was just huge. We're seeing like 40 to go from 32% to 40% 3-point percentage. It's huge. I don't expect it to be a natural fluent shot creator off the dribble either, but I do expect a slight improvement from him at minimum. I think 20 points, getting maybe like 3.5 assists per game. Still, I don't know if we're going to get 40, maybe 38% from three, but increasing that field goal percentage to being 46 would probably where I want to see it, just being that type of player.
Yeah. And shout out the original man in the chat as he said. Side note, with the additions of Kemba and Fournier, and we know RJ's prowess to rebounding. You now have 4 guys that can bring the ball up and push the break. Start the break. So I think that's great. And having those additions, including RJ. CK, how about you, bro?
Yeah, I'm glad Alex brought it up because that was the big difference I think we're going to see in RJ Barrett's game in year 3 is going to be the playmaking aspect. He's always had that. That's one thing we have not got to see on a consistent level as a Knick is his playmaking ability. I mean, Duke, he was around like 4.5, 4.3. Someone looked that up, assists per game. Back in high school, he was a guy that was one of the predominant ball handlers, even though they had other point guards. They was running with that. That's just what his game typically was. We saw a little bit with Team Canada. That's just, that's the kind of player that he is. And I feel like, you can point at number 6 and all other kind of reasons, but to what you just said, CP, with having more guys that can move the ball in Fournier and Kemba Walker, we're going to have less situations of when we have a fast break, we're not going to know what to do with it. We're going to have more situations where you can see that the ball is going to be moving around a lot more. And I think that RJ Barrett is going to thrive in that, especially with the starting unit. I'm having a hard time predicting points. I love the confidence in my man JD and in my man Alex in the 20. I really want my RJ Barrett fandom is sitting here saying year 3, give me 21 a game. Yeah. I'm ready to see it. But because of the additions and everything we've done, and to me it wouldn't be a bad thing. But I'm looking more around like a 19.4 kind of rise. I think he's going to go from 17 to 19, which to me is still not bad. But it's just when we have weapons, and we have firepower off the bench. It's just going to be. I see the Knicks being a little bit more of a spread offense rather than just the go-to kind of guy. I think Julius Randle's going to get a brunt of the offense. Kemba, if healthy, is going to get a brunt of a lot of the offense. RJ Barrett's going to fit in where he can fit in. Maybe to JD's point, he does get those open shots in the corner to a lot more frequently this year compared to last year, and he got them a lot last year, but we just missed him a lot. So maybe because of shots and openings like that, he might get to the 20. But I just feel like with the team we have right now, bench, IQ, everybody, I feel like we're going to see more of a spread offense as far as our statistics for these guys. And because of that, I think we're gonna have to wait another year before we see RJ averaging around the 20 points per game. But in no way do I say this slight. And I agree with Alex again on the 3-point percentage. I don't see him riding that 40. I mean, he barely made the 40, and I'm gonna give it to him until the day I die that he got 40% from 3-point percentage. But I think he's gonna be around 38, which is good. I want to see him get to like that 45, 46 from the field because he missed a lot of gimmies around the rim, which is his bread and butter. So hopefully, he got that worked out. And we've seen how big he is now. We're seeing him add that to his game. But the big things I'm looking at is the playmaking ability of RJ Barrett. I want to see him bring that to the NBA level. And I think now with the personnel that we added, we're going to see more of that. And another, just a little tidbit, I'm looking at the steals. I think RJ Barrett's steals are going to jump up a little bit this year. I think he's going to average around 1.3, 1.4 steals per game. I'm looking at that one. I think that the defense, we're not talking enough about with RJ Barrett. I think he might up that up a little bit. But definitely going to see a nice year 3 out of RJ Barrett for sure.
Great points. Great points. Go ahead. Somebody else?
Yeah, I was just gonna say the only way, and I agree with CK because a lot of it is, you also have additional offensive additions to the team. So, he averaged just about 15 shots per game last year on 35 minutes. You expect him to take 20 shots now? So I think two things that he needs to do where he can get to 20 points, which is only 2.5, 3 points more from what he did. It's just two things he needs to do while still shooting the same percentages, is just finish better at the rim. And
Yes.
I would like for him to get to the free throw line more. He averaged 3.8 free throw attempts.
Yep.
Right. He actually averaged more free throws as a rookie, free throw attempts. He just didn't hit many. He was a 61% free throw shooter his rookie year. He was a 74% free throw shooter his sophomore year. Get to the free throw line from 4 free throws, shoot 3 more free throws. Let's get you at the free throw line 6-7 times. Let's go from 74.6. Let's get at 79, 80% at the free throw. You do that and you finish a little bit better at the basket. You don't need to shoot more, CP, to get, to actually have a statistical increase. You just need to become more efficient at specific areas that he was weak at this year. I think that's where his improvement could come, is just getting better in those areas. A lot of people think sometimes that a statistical breakout year means that you have to do so many more things. Right. Now he has to shoot 7, 8 threes.
Just
now, no, just look at where the areas you were inefficient and make those areas efficient.
Especially when you factor in the fact, the fact that he can get to the rim with ease, and he's getting bigger now. He's filling out more. Getting to the rim is not a problem. Now, the handles you want to see improve. You want to see him develop the right hand as well. Can he get a little bit more ambidextrous? Definitely want to see that. But, even with those deficiencies, he can still get to the rim at will. I mean, the frequency at the rim, he was in the 92nd percentile last year, 85th percentile this year in terms of shooting at the rim. 48%, 42% respectively, but he finished abysmal. He finished 54%, 55% respectively in his first 2 years at the rim. That put him in the 22nd and the 24th percentile respectively. So I'm with you, JD. That's one major area of improvement that you would expect RJ to be better at. Also, to your point on defense, I've been saying this for a while, and it's not to say that he was locked down by any stretch, but Bullock took a lot of bullets for this team on the defensive end, night in and night out, by most of the time taking on the hardest assignments. And I think for the most part, I think Fournier will get some of those duties as well, but RJ's going to take on a lot. And when you think about the division alone, I mean, somebody's got to guard KD, Harden. So, Ben Simmons is light work. RJ always takes it to Ben Simmons. I'm not worried about that. Maybe Tobias, he's got to take on Middleton, Jimmy Butler. You got to take on the Jays, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, all right? You got to take on Bradley Beal. He's going to draw some tough assignments on a nightly basis, and I'm wondering if that impacts his offensive game next year, because he's going to have to be working on the other end as well. So that's going to be left to be seen. I think having Kemba and Fournier better overall facilitators than you had in Peyton and Bullock should help RJ get more opportunities. Kemba can get some tunnel vision as well, but not as bad as Peyton does. So maybe that gets RJ a 1 or 2 or maybe 3 more open threes a game. Factor in Fournier's ability to play make as well, his unselfishness. I think that could bode well for RJ as well. One major area, which is what he's working on this year, he was assisted on 98% of his 3-point makes this year. 98%. That put him in the 28th percentile. He's got to show the ability for me, if he's going to hit that 20 mark, like we said, finishing better at the rim, but can he create more for himself at the 3-point line? And I think that's what he's working on. We saw some highlights of that in the Olympics. A couple nice step back threes and things of that nature. And Drew Hanlon, like I said, they've come out and say that's one area of focus is more shot creation on the pull-ups. And again, 98% of his 3-point makes came assisted. Most of that by Julius Randle. So I think for him to hit that 20 mark, finishing better at the rim, as you said, JD, but also being able to create more from 3, and he should be able to get there. But no doubt, I think year 3 of RJ is going to be critical. But his work ethic shows me that I think he can get there. I think he can get to that 20-point mark. I think he'll continue to be a solid rebounder as he has been. 5.8 last year. I think he could still hover around 6. And then you guys had mentioned on the shot creation, three assists last year. Can he get to 4.5? I don't. 5 might be a jump, but maybe 4.5. I always liked how we started the games off when Mitch was healthy. We started that Gotham lob or that pick and roll action with RJ and Mitch. Try to get RJ going early. That was a big staple of the offense, especially early last year. And I thought that once Mitch went down, that kind of impacted some of RJ's assist numbers because he didn't really have that, that guy to throw it over the top to. But being able to finish better at the rim could also help him, in terms of getting those assists there. But I'd like to see them go to him in the offense a little bit more. Will he be a more featured part of the offense when that first unit gets subbed out, especially Julius? Will they go to RJ a little bit more there? And yeah, it's going to be left to be seen, man. I still go back to the game against Golden State because to me as a facilitator, that was his best game of the season. And they ran so many plays through RJ that night, and they destroyed the Warriors. This was in Golden State. They ran them out the building, right. And I wanted to see that more. For some reason, it was so sporadic in terms of how we had him handling the offense. But that night in particular stood out to me because he can do it. I think he can certainly play make a lot more than he's been given the opportunity to. So I think that'll be interesting to see for sure.
Yeah, and I think that, part of that inconsistency in terms of, giving him the ball more, I think he came with, he was so efficient from the corner three. He was efficient from 3-point range. I think the team may have just fell in love with that and played it safe. Yeah. And him not, I wish I could sit down with Knicks fans and we could all be in a room and there could be a projector so we can look at the way that these teams were defending us when Elfrid Payton was on the court. There's some threads on Twitter.
Yeah.
It was disgusting. Yeah. These guys, as soon as any time that there was a guard of the Knicks, whether it was RJ or Burks and Payton was on the court, at the first sign of that guard attacking the basket, you always saw Payton's defender just collapse and become an extra defender. So this could be the year that even with Kemba's not necessarily facilitating point guard. You have an opportunity with Fournier on one side. Kemba still shoots 36% from 3. He's going to have better spacing for you to kind of be creative with his abilities. And just 2 quick points. I think one is impressive that, for a sophomore player that's 21 years old, that's shooting 40% from 3, that's averaged 17 points his sophomore year. I think it's impressive that here we are still talking about areas that he can get better at. Yeah. And yet this is what he displayed his second year. So that's the first thing.
I'm encouraged.
The second thing that is going to be important, and I think for Knicks fans is what they're really going to be looking for, CP, is the playoffs. So,
right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we're projecting for the season, but I think especially like with Randall and like RJ, RJ shot, 38% from the field and only 28% from 3. A lot of his numbers dipped in the playoffs, and it's fine. It's his first playoff experience and all that stuff. But now we have expectations, year 3. Once we get to the playoffs, he can have the same numbers he had last season. But if he's able to provide that in the playoffs,
he'll be the man.
That's all that we're going to care about at the end of the day.
1,000%.
So I think for him, the mental side of the basketball game is another step. We don't talk a lot about the mental part of the game when we evaluate players making a jump. I think if he's able to improve that, fans are back, and he's able to, perform in pressure situations, that's also going to be a nice improvement for his development.
Salute to everybody in the chat. Once again, hit that thumbs up button for your boys. CP, Alex, JD, CK in the building. We got the whole KFTV squad in the building with the KFTV snaps. Everybody snap act up tonight. We out here forming like Voltron for the Sunday night podcast. The first episode of the road to training camp. Training camp starts September 28th. We are right around the corner. So basically, we're going to be running these things. We're going to try to do at least twice a week. Every Sunday, the Sunday pod will definitely be on point, and then we'll try to get a midweek one in. And again, we're going to do season expectations, predictions, lineup predictions, all that good stuff as we lead up to the start of the 21-22 season. I want to shout out my guy Angelo Carlos, sent a super chat. He says, salute to the panel and the chat. If what Stephen A. said is true in RJ prioritizing use of his right hand this offseason, if successful, does that addition to his game making him an all-star in 21-22? Well, I think it all depends on how he finishes. You know, he could be Harlem Globetrotters out there, but if he can't finish at the rim, or you know, use that level of being ambidextrous, you know, to his advantage, then you know, it's hard to tell. It all depends on how he uses it, but certainly needs to add that to his game for sure.
He needs to add it, but it's an overrated, in my opinion, angle. Because he still averaged 17 points per game, you know, going quote unquote left every time. I mean, when you look at some of these great players and you see their season highlights year in and year out, do these players really do anything different in terms of moves?
Yeah,
not really. You know where they're going. You just can't stop it. They're just that much more better at it. So yes, I do agree that he would benefit from adding a right hand and using it more, but I don't think it's the be all end all of, you know, him becoming a finished product.
Shout out to Danny Thomas. He says, salute everyone. JD, you were at the Entertainer stream. I think Knicks win 44 to 50 games this year. I predict McBride gets consistent minutes towards the end of the season, and we get to the second round. So Danny Thomas throwing some optimism in there. He's talking about second round Knicks. So well, let's see what happens, man. We'll definitely talk about predictions and record predictions once we get closer to training camp. So appreciate you, Danny, for that. All right, let's see who we have on the phones. Hang tight 1 second, fellas. So to everybody in the chat. Let's see who we got here. All right, let's kick it off. Ice Water in Brooklyn. Ice Water, what's good, bro?
Hey, what's going on, fellas?
How you feeling, bro?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear. Go ahead.
All right. So first thing, I just want to touch on Nerlens Noel real quick. Just real quick, if this dude was at a birthday party for somebody and he ran into
he's about to rip him. Go ahead, bro.
Somebody that's not his agent, told him to pass up $70 million, and he told that story. I mean, this guy doesn't have anybody that loves him or something like that. I mean, why would you tell that story? I don't understand, but anyway, RJ Barrett, I agree with JD. I think if he improves his free throw shooting, that could take him to, you know, close to 20 points a game. I think that's what he needs to do and finish around the rim more. I don't think he needs to take more shots or anything like that. With Evan Fournier and Kemba, you know, that's more shots that are going to be up there. So, you know, if he stays the way that he is and is efficient, I think he'll be a better player. Burks and Noel, as long as they keep their roles and they keep doing what they're doing, I think, you know, they'll add to the team. You know, the Knicks have, to me, and you guys might disagree, but I think they have the deepest bench in the
Definitely.
East. I mean, they are just loaded at every position. They are just loaded, you know. So, you know, I hear everybody talking about second round and stuff like that. For me personally, if everybody is healthy and, you know, there's no major injuries, I don't see why the Knicks can't get to the Eastern Conference Finals. That's just me. Maybe that's me being an irrational, you know, Knicks fan, but why not? Because they're just loaded. They're you know, they're loaded. You know,
Ice, I feel you, man. But I mean, I don't. You know, we got to get out the first round first, Val. You know what I'm saying? We got to get that out the first round first, fam. That's all I'm saying. You know, we got dusted out there, bro.
Let's go. I like it. I like it. Let's go.
You could have said the same thing. You know, you could have told Atlanta the same thing. And Atlanta made the Eastern Conference Finals. You know, so, and yeah, things broke bad and stuff. I mean, things broke their way and stuff like that. But, I mean, that's not that far-fetched, you know, in the Eastern Conference, especially with the team that the Knicks have. I mean, especially with them being as loaded. Now, you know, if Tom Thibodeau doesn't play his bench and he's playing, you know, he's playing the starters 55 minutes in a 48-minute game, well, then, maybe not, because everybody will be burnt out. But, I mean, if he uses the bench, I don't see why this team can't at least make a run for the finals. I don't see why. But I expect R.J. Barrett to be a little bit better. And if Alec Burks and Nerlens Noel can just keep their production from last year, the sky's the limit for this team. It's been a long time since I've been this excited about the beginning of the season for the Knicks. It's been a while, so I had my doubts about the front office, but the front office has made outstanding moves. I think this is going to be. I think this is going to be a really, really great season. Okay. Now, I'm not saying we're going to win the championship and all that. I'm not going to be delusional, but this is going to be a really fun season.
All right, appreciate the call, man. Thanks for always calling in. Ice Water, appreciate that.
Might as well. My man said finals.
Ice Water, yeah, right.
I was like, he got damn near right, for real.
Might as well say we might win it.
Ice water went all the way up to 100 and it stopped short at the yellow light. Like, whoa. I'm not saying finals, but
I think he looked at the comments.
Yeah, he looked.
He's like, oh, you know what? Yeah, maybe not winning the finals. Sorry, Ice Water. We feel you.
We got to get that out the first round first, fam, and the way we got washed by the Hawks. I think they proved to have more depth off the bench for sure. When you talk about what Herder was able to do, and Gallinari killed us, Lou Will did his damage, Okongwu came on late, not just against us, but in the playoffs altogether. So I think the Hawks certainly have something to say in the depth conversation. But I think the Knicks will be right up there in terms of depth off the bench in the whole East, no doubt about it. Hey. Certainly Miami has something that will have something to say. Yeah, I think we're right there, fellas. Just running off the list quickly, right depth-wise. I think we're right there. This
time around, Trae Young's going to have to guard somebody.
He's going to have to guard somebody.
When they played the Sixers, he was on Danny Green, Korkmaz. Like, you could hide him against these teams that have this one-dimensional offensive player. Against the Knicks, you either going to have to guard Kemba, you're going to have to guard RJ. RJ could post you up, or you're going to have guard Fournier. So Trae, in a future matchup against the Knicks, he can no longer just sit on the corner and just chill.
Facts.
Yep.
So that'll be an interesting matchup once we get there to watch.
Yeah, he was parked on Bullock, man. Definitely parked on Bullock. If you guys want to call in, phone number's up 657-383-1509, or else we're going to go watch the fight, man. But fellas, we got this show in time. I didn't know if we were going to make it. I had the fight going on the other screen. Not going to mention the means of how I'm watching this. I'm not going to promote any type of, those type of activities.
Yeah, because I bought the fight, CP. I know what you're talking about, bro. Yeah.
Shout out to CP the artist. CP, I do want to say this.
Yeah.
CP the artist is speculating that we all somehow game plan to wear the hat. And I'm telling you, guys, CP, we all showed up and it was like, wait.
Yeah.
Yo, we all got the same hat.
I had this.
That's crazy.
Bro, go ahead, CK.
I was going to say, I was wearing this hat originally, but then I saw my man, Alex had his hat on. JD jumped on with the hat on. I'm assuming CP. So I was like, all right, I got the hat on at all
originally,
times.
I was going with my RJ draft hat.
See?
I was going with the Knicks joint. Well, y'all came through. I said, all right, let me go to the company line.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I always got it ready to go. It's right there, ready to go. So I'm like, all right, let's do it. Okay, he's doing this.
And CP the artist, he's going by the artist right now. We're in the midst of some litigation. He's going to get rid of that name, CP. There's a bit of copyright infringement going on with CP the artist. So he's only going by the artist in the chat. And just to let you guys know, we're going through a little bit of a thing. That's still my man right now. But we just going through a little bit of a thing behind the scenes. We're stripping the CP from his name. He's only gonna be the artist. I had to let him know. You know what I mean? You can't be throwing my name out there like that and having these takes and So we talking. We talking about that. Some litigation going on. All right. How are we looking on the fight? Has it started yet? They're gonna have the pregame. Where are we at right now with the fight, CK? Because my phone just started.
According to my Showtime stream, it's about to start right now. They're doing a little, like, what are you doing? Yeah,
they're gonna have the Barstool guy wax poetic for like 30 minutes. Then they're gonna have Migos come out for about 5 minutes. Moneybag Yo, they gonna have Yo Gotti, Moneybag Yo, all these cats. Oh man, it's gonna be a while. But yeah, I'm gonna tune in. What else do we have going on this weekend? JD, I saw Danny Dimes got a little touchdown in before the half. I didn't watch the whole Giants. I didn't watch the Giants Pats. I missed it completely. So I got it on DVR. But I mean, is it worth watching on the replay or what, man? Did you see it?
I mean, yeah, I saw the whole game, and shout out to Junior Koroba. I see him with the Giants.
Yeah, Junior's our guy. Junior's our guy.
CP, just pray for the offensive line. That's all I have to say.
Oh man, it's still a work in progress, bro. I heard Andrew Thomas was getting worked out there.
Yeah, he gave up a few sacks. Was called for a penalty, and in football, you give up 2 sacks, that's already a terrible day.
Yeah,
and so it's just so hard in preseason. Danny Dimes had a high completion percentage. He finished the game with a touchdown. But again, the Giants didn't have Kadarius Toney, their first-round pick.
Has Galladay played it?
He hasn't played at all, and he's their off-season prize acquisition. He's a 6'4" wide receiver. Saquon Barkley didn't play.
Lost Ingram again.
Yeah, so Daniel Jones was out there tonight, literally with the same team he was there last season. So, yeah, in 2 weeks when the season starts, nobody's going to care about what happened tonight. So that's how I look at it.
We got to get healthy, man. And that's the thing. Galladay was my guy. But the health.
That GM is gone. If that offensive line does not play well,
he's out of there.
Dave Gettleman's out of there.
He's out of there. And let's just get us a real QB, because I told you, man, I'm not gonna ish on him right now. I'm still keeping out faith. But so far, I just haven't been impressed. But we'll see, man. CK, your boy Jameis won the job.
I'm a happy guy.
You know what I'm saying? I'm happy for him too, bro.
Man.
Jameis, bro.
Man. All love to Taysom Hill, but let him be what he is, man.
Yeah.
Let him be the utility knife on certain plays, but I didn't want to see 17 games or 16 games or whatever it is of him as my starting quarterback. I'm excited for Jameis.
Yeah, I'm rooting for him.
Me too, man. Me too. I'm hoping he gained some maturity on the Drew Brees and with Peyton, the year that he spent with them, and it was the 2 years. A year or two?
Yeah. This is his second year. This is his second year with us. Yeah.
Yeah, so he got that, and then Zach
Alex
Wilson.
Alex is like, look at these guys.
Quarterback. I heard
we
Zach
have
Wilson's
our franchise guy. Look
though.
at these guys. They don't even know who they have, and we have the future.
How dare you?
I heard Zach Wilson was impressive, though. I heard, Rodgers has been bigging him up.
Yeah, but Aaron Rodgers was bigging him up a lot when they played the Packers. He looked really good against the Packers too. 2 TDs.
He did, man.
He looked really good. Like the kid's mobile. He's really he's shown off to be a true leader. Much more different than Sam Darnold. I'll give it that. And I was on the Sam Darnold train, although it was, when you haven't had a franchise quarterback since Joe Willie Namath, and I was even bored for that, you'll grab onto anything and anyone.
As the Jets fans always do, because they haven't had one since Joe Willie.
It was
that long.
Sanchez. It was Geno Smith. We thought Fitzpatrick was going to do it for us. Nope. Josh McCown came in. Then it was Sam Darnold. Yeah. Now it's Zach Wilson. So a lot of names I just went through, and it just makes me sound disgusting.
Y'all was so thirsty. Y'all went out and got Brett Favre.
Oh yeah,
Michael Vick.
Oh man,
they moved heaven and earth to get Favre in here, man.
Don't even start me on Brett Favre. Do not even start me on Brett Favre.
Damn.
Don't even get me.
You know what though? I thought they were gonna get Geno up out of the league. I saw Geno come out on the field with the Seahawks yesterday. So Geno's still hanging on to the clipboard, man.
Yes.
No doubt.
By a thread. Now
what's the one team y'all all hate? Like the number one team y'all hate?
Cowboys and Eagles.
Patriots.
Cowboys, Eagles, equally.
Buccaneers. I've hated the Buccaneers for
Patriots.
years before Brady.
Yeah.
They're that team that no matter what kind of season the Saints have, if we have 3, 2, 4 losses, they're 2 of them. Every year.
Yeah,
as bad as they've been, they always got us.
I might even lean Eagles more, JD, because there's just been so much heartbreak with the Eagles, man. I mean, you know, when McNabb showed us up in the first round, got on the phone, the Deshaun Jackson punt return, it's been a lot of nightmares, man. The 60-something yarder, the 68-something yarder that they hit on us like 3 years ago in Philly. You remember that?
Yeah.
Remember that?
All right.
Oh, my
you guys
Lord.
are talking about small problems. When you had Tom Brady control the AFC
Facts.
East for a guy
True
who knows
story.
how long, and you had to
True
watch
story.
that guy every single year.
And now it's Buffalo's turn.
Don't come
Now
to
I'm
me.
dealing with it.
Yeah.
Now I'm dealing with it.
That was
He old and
Buffalo's
he's still
turn.
doing the same things. Alex, what the hell, man?
That was
Buffalo's
Buffalo's
turn.
turn, man.
Oh, let's see if they can stay on the field this season, all right?
Yeah. True story, man. Now it's gonna be interesting, man. Season's kicking off in 2 weeks. Definitely looking forward to that. I'll be at the Eli game too. September 26th, Giants versus Falcons. I think they playing. Eli retirement had to be there for number 10, and so I'll get my one game in of the season. And I'll be there, man. I want to shout out Amid Belfort, send a super chat. He says, salute, fellas. Do you think the regular season going back to 82 games plus making the playoffs, will it play a major factor with guys staying fresh for the playoff run? I'll kick that off just by saying it could, but I think it's also on Tibbs to embrace the depth, man. Embrace the depth. You know, manage the minutes with Kemba and Rose. Factor in McBride and Grimes. Get those guys in there. You know, Julius Obi. You know, some of those positional battles, so to speak. Utilize that, man, because we have the depth. We have the depth that can you know, spell these guys. So, fellas, what do you guys think? If you guys want to throw something in there.
I'll keep mine short. Yes, I think it's gonna play a factor, but like you just said, play to the depth. Just the break in between last season and this season, Olympics, new homes, all kind of stuff. I think it's gonna play a bit of a factor, but hopefully, like you said, Tibbs uses the depth, and we should hopefully be okay. But I think it's gonna play a factor.
Yeah, I think Tibbs is going to use the depth. I mean, he did it last season. We had a 10-man rotation, and it wasn't necessarily the greatest 10-man rotation, but I think he's going to use the depth this season as well.
It's going to be interesting, CP. You saw last year the way that, you know, the schedule was made for the NBA was a lot easier schedule, better travel time, no fans. So, you know, now it's back to normal. And we talked about when we broke down the schedule, that West Coast trip, like those are the moments to use some of the younger players, the far bench.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's going to be interesting to see how Tibbs manages the whole, you know, roster for the full season.
True story. Shout out Nelson Hernandez for the super chat. He says, I'm expecting all-star appearances from Julius, RJ, and Cardiac Kemba. So Nelson jumping out the window on this. Okay, let's see what happens, Nelson. Let's see what happens, man. We'll come back to it if it comes true. CK, go ahead and sign out for us, bro.
Yeah, man. What's up?
Yeah, go ahead, sign out.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, glad to be back. You know, I always have fun talking to you guys about the Knicks. Great conversation tonight. As always, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit that like button for your boys on this fine Sunday. But you know, you can find me, CK2K, across the boards, Instagram, Twitter. But more importantly, make sure you give these guys some love because we having a lot of fun. And the season's about to start, and the season's going to be lit. I'm excited.
Yes, sir. JD, how you feeling, bro?
I'm feeling great, man. You know, shout out to you guys. Shout out to the fans. Shout out to everyone that made the show today. Shout out to the replay gang when y'all watch this.
Shout out to replay gang. Yep.
Replay gang.
Yeah. They be in there heavy. They be commenting too, you know. So shout out to them. And hey, I'm excited to, you know, be a part of the team. I'm excited for more future shows with you guys. And you know, on Twitter you can check me out at JD Sports Talk NY and JD Sports Talk on YouTube.
Yeah, man.
Let's get it.
Al, go ahead and sign out. The newest addition to the fan-sided family of podcasts, but also KnicksFanTV family. So congrats to Al on that. Go ahead and let the people know where they can find you, bro.
Appreciate it, fellas. Appreciate it. I love coming on here and talking Knicks with you guys. It's a lot of fun. And salute to Knicks Nation for always hanging with us. Just listen to us talk about Knicks, giving our takes on almost say nightly basis, but weekly, almost some on nightly basis. But it's always a lot of fun. Salute to the mods too. Salute to KnicksFanTV.com writers as well, because those guys are putting in the work as well. But you know what it is. CP just mentioned it. Knicks, Jets, etc. The podcast is now the exclusive Knicks and Jets podcast for Minute Media and Fanside. So get at us. You can find us on Twitter. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, all over the place. If you go to Daily Knicks, if you go to the Jet Press, you'll find our podcast right there on the home page. So you can hit it right there, or even listen to it on that page. All right. And of all things, make sure to check out KnicksFanTV.com. We got a lot of great content coming out there. We got Chip Murphy, we got Remy, we got Dave giving off the contribution. We got a lot of people helping us out right now, so it's a lot of good stuff. Shout out to Paul. All right, we got a lot of guys there doing a lot of great work.
Yes, sir. Great job, man. Appreciate that, Al. Appreciate that, fellas. And salute to everybody in the chat. Once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys, man. We got to give this foursome a name. What do you guys think in the chat, man? Throw a name in there. I saw somebody say the squad. That's all right. I think we could do a little better. What do you guys think, man? This foursome group on this podcast, or what are we gonna call this going forward? Leave us some suggestions. Like JD said, man. Shout out to the replay gang, whoever you guys are watching from. I saw somebody checking in from Poland, so shout out to Real Rykozet. Salute from Poland. So salute to you guys, man. All my UK family. We had Ronaldo going back to United, so I'm sure you guys are thrilled about that. You got Messi down at PSG, so the football family is definitely electrified right now. Remember, the show's presented by Manscaped. Go to manscaped.com, enter promo code Knicks for 20% off plus free shipping on the Lawnmower 4.0 and related products. And also remember, this show is also available in audio podcast format, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, all the major podcast networks on the KnicksFanTV. And yeah, man, as we get ready for the fight, CK, did the fight start yet?
No, they're doing the little intros right now.
I told you.
The Barstool Boys just finished. So
I told you. They need Portnoy. They're rambling away as usual, man. So good, man. We killed a lot of time leading up to this fight, and that was great. That was absolutely fantastic. And speaking of the fight, we will have Ariel Elwani coming through Thursday night, man. Ariel's been all over this fight, all over the press conferences. Yeah. He's covering everything right now, but he's a diehard Knicks fan first and foremost, so he knows where to come through. Number one show for the fans, by the fans, KnicksFanTV, and I'll probably have another Wednesday show